Even in the off-season, living by the water on Cape Cod has plenty of pluses. It's what's in some communities' water that has caused alarm. Nature gave the Cape a single aquifer, and that's an issue because all of the drinking water here in every town comes from this one underground source.
Essentially everything that you put on the ground ultimately finds its way in some form into the groundwater.
Andrew Gottlieb is executive director of the nonprofit association to preserve Cape Cod.
There was wide-scale contamination in the 1980s that was discovered from activities on the Massachusetts Military Reservation, now known as Joint Base Cape Cod, that affected the water supply of the four joint towns, Mashpee, Sandwich, Warren, and Falmouth, that required hundreds of millions of dollars of cleanup.
Today, the town of Eastham confronts its own challenge. In the 2000s, an unlined landfill began to leak possible carcinogens.
We had a problem with 1,4-dioxane, which is a chemical that is particularly difficult to remove.
Eastham's town administrator, Jacqueline Beebe, explains.
Everyone in town had a private well, and that's way above the aquifer. So we got hits at those wells and started to see a pattern. When it hit at the elementary school, that really panicked parents, of course, naturally. And I think that mobilized some more people to get really involved in what can we do.
It's probably going to be
what ensued was nearly a decade of debate. Should Eastham build a municipal water system from scratch? The answer, yes.
That price tag is over $130 million.
With everything that's going on these days, I think you shouldn't have to worry about what's coming out of the tap.
Jeff Risk and his family live near the landfill.
It was very emotional, and there was a lot of pushback from the town at first, which was surprising to me, but looking back on it and having time to really think about it, I can understand the tax implications, the cost by the homeowner, the cost to hook up, but I think the greater good of the town of Eastham for us was really the motivating factor, and for a lot of our neighbors here too.
Every property in the town is being served by the water system. There's about 6,600 properties.
As principal and project manager at Environmental Partners Group in Woburn, Mark White oversees the Eastham Water Project. White says that before 1,4-dioxane was discovered here, Eastham's drinking water had another problem: nitrates from human sources.
People's wells could be very close to either their own septic system or their neighbors, and there was a trend of the number of homes being affected progressively climbing to the point where by 2010, fully 60 to 80% of the homes were being impacted by septic systems.
Almost 97% of the wastewater on Cape Cod goes into the ground through individual septic systems. Not only what you put down in the drain, but the chemicals and pharmaceuticals and drugs, coffee, and everything that you ingest in your body and then excrete through waste finds its way into the groundwater.
Construction in Eastham began in 2014 and should be completed before 2024. Crews located new well fields in protected areas. They're building pumping stations that disinfect and adjust the pH of the water. Storage tanks and 85 miles of pipe are in the works. Fire hydrants are in service for the first time ever.
I think we will have the ability to serve everyone with clean, potable drinking water, which is exactly the point of the whole exercise.
In the meantime, what can Cape Cod residents and the rest of us do to ensure water safety? Is bottled water better? No, says Catherine Rogers of the Silent Spring Institute in Newton.
Bottled water is not regulated under EPA's Safe Drinking Water Act, which requires screening for nearly 100 contaminants in drinking water. So bottled water could really just be tap water with no additional treatment. And some of the concerns about bottled water, including the waste actually from the bottles themselves, which are made from petroleum, are the potential for plastics chemicals to leach from the bottles into the water.
Instead, Gottlieb says to stay informed. Ask local government and water suppliers about what's in your water. Leave land in its natural state.
People can be good stewards of their own land. Lay off the yard chemicals, lay off the pesticides, rely more heavily on native species that support the land. They'll use less water, they require no fertilizer.
And be mindful of what you put down the drain, especially on the Cape.
In this setting here, the only way the aquifer gets replenished is by rainwater. There's not a river or anything like that. So what goes in the ground is what we live with, and it takes a long, long time for it to flush out, on the order of decades.
Mark White, the engineer helming the Eastham Water Project, says that right now more than half the town has access to water in the new system, but 100% of the town now has fire protection. There were no hydrants in town before. Fighting fires was quite a challenge.